In a vast multiverse, many of us have come to the awakening of ourselves in hopes of raising the collective consciousness. The MetaSpiritualist was created to be a safe space at the intersection of spiritual and religious conversations, to share our stories of healing, evolution, and encouragement. You can find many spiritualists, gurus, pastors, and motivational speakers throughout the internet, and the MetaSpiritualist is just a platform to add value to the collective. My hope is for you to gain clarity, peace, and inspiration for your soul's elevation. The MetaSpiritualist is guided by the creator of the universe through prayer, meditation, and sound healing. All right. Hey, Tyra girl, how you doing?
Wow. Happy Sunday to you, girl.
Happy Sunday to you too. You know what? I didn't even realize I wore my gold. Doesn't gold associate with
Yeah,
Sunday?
it sure does. It's the sun. We bright, we shine, and boom, boom. I must be representing the dark side of the moon today, Vic. I'm in my Renaissance gear right now.
I love it though. I love it because it aligns. It's like,
You know, the polarity. Yes. Oh my God, I
mhm,
love it. Well, that's all
yeah,
right there. So,
right. Girl. So today we are talking about the shift that happens within our practical alchemy. And I want to preface this conversation in conjunction with what we've been building in this series in terms of what happens when we apply our thoughts, our vibration, our feelings to align them with the things that we want to experience in our life. And so um, I had a few circumstances that happened in the last few weeks that I was sharing with you in another conversation. And just recognizing when that shift happens is so key. And I think the last episode we talked about the adjustment period. So once the tower moments happen, once all these things happen, then there's that moment of clarity where you say, "Oh, I see the silver lining." So let's break that down a little bit and talk about recognizing when the shift happens. What do you think about when that shift happens? And kind of explain when you have recognized when a shift has happened.
goodness, that is such a good question because this really ties back into getting what we ask for, but it's not happening the way we think it's supposed to happen. For
Mhm.
example, like a lot of times, okay, I've had this happen to me before. I'm really trying to move forward in my life, and I'm like, you ask the blanket prayer, God removing things from me that's not in alignment,
Mhm.
whatever, and then you start having relationship problems, or you're getting into these weird spats at work, or some things like this shift of like things that were going good start to feel like it's getting shaky. And what I've had to learn and to recognize is that when I'm asking for the universe to create some type of change or a shift, right? We say we're going to the next level of whatever we want to pursue.
Mhm.
We cannot control on how the universe is going to bring it to us. I mean, we can make requests, no, let no harm, hurt, come to me and those I love. Of course, we can kind of make those perceptions,
Petitions.
petitions to the universe.
Mhm.
However, when the shift starts to happen, right, it can be ending of a relationship. It can be whether that is a romantic relationship, a friendship, even a job, right? Like this job you was in doesn't serve where you're trying to go. And that moment of unemployment or that season of being unemployed is where exactly where you find the source or network or connection or the drive even to now pursue what you were asking the universe to open doors for. So that right there is stepping into the law of recognition and realizing that anything that's happening for us, particularly after we make a petition, a request, a prayer, etc., it's for our good. And it doesn't always feel good because you're like, wait, I didn't mean it like this.
Right.
But that is the best way most times for us to get to that next position.
Yeah. So I kind of want to share what happened with me on, with our viewers in the last few weeks, and what I shared with you. Where I recognized my shift was all the things that's happened in the last 12 months, 24 months. Um it really propelled me down into that, looking deep within what was my involvement in all of these mishaps and things like that, right? And so when something bad would happen and I would share it with a friend, they like, "Oh, you're on the right track, keep doing what you're doing." And then I'm like, "What do you mean? I keep doing what I'm doing." But a few weeks ago, I I was like, "You know what? I really need to be strategic about this coming into this new level, into this new season of my journey as an entrepreneur, cuz it's everything that I've been building lately has been more focused on the entrepreneurship journey." And so when I recognized that shift, I was in my office, strategizing with a partner. We're breaking down our workflow process and everything, and really like being intentional. We even set one of those kitchen timers to 50 minutes, and we were like, listen, for 50 minutes, this is what we're doing. Silence the phone. We're focused. We're zoned in. And we got so much work done in that 50 minutes. And it basically was like the setup for the rest of the week. And during that week, something miraculous happened. I spoke with one person that introduced me to another person, that introduced me to another person, and every single thing was really in alignment with where I am right now in terms of one of my projects.
Yeah.
And so the following week was Thanksgiving. And, we take the break, and, things are happening, spirits are high, everybody's feeling good. And last week, what happened was I met in person with one of the people that I had met over virtually, and talked with that person. It was a great conversation, great dinner. And then the following week, so last week, I met someone else who knew that person, who's like, and so I'm like, what? Now I wasn't expecting, because that person before didn't introduce me to this person like how things was lining up before. So then that clicked in my mind, like, you know what? The shift has happened. Now you're meeting people outside of this particular circle that is going to constantly point you back to the focus that you set up 3 weeks ago. And I was like, okay, now that I have this download, now that I have this information, how can I put it into context and say, now that I recognize that this shift has happened, what do I do with it? And so I literally have been in just strategic planning mode.
Yes.
And I know that this is pretty much the time of the year, like that last quarter, where companies and entrepreneurs are doing their strategic planning for the upcoming year, right? Um and I'm just grateful that I recognized it first and foremost.
That part. Oh my goodness. And see, that is so like timely because I had this conversation. I have my eighth grader. She's a rising ninth grade, so she'll be in high school next school year. And so the kids, they have an assigned neighborhood high school. So there's two assigned neighborhood high schools. However, she doesn't want to go to either one of those. She wants to go to a particular high school that all her friends are going to. Now, it's not a bad school. It's a decent school. However, it doesn't have the academic rigor and some of the programs of this other school I want her to go to. So this other school, my sister went there, my cousins went there, my aunts went there, my grandmother went there. Like it's a really good high school. And then it's a technical high school. So they have the kids, particularly for her interest is in computer science and cybersecurity. So the kids would get like the tech certification like by their junior year, senior year. And we've already had discussions about what she wants for her future. And one thing she's not really, care for is to go to college, which I'm fine with that. I'm like, there's other routes to be successful in life. So my thing is, since she's already interested in computers and digital media, let's put you into a school that has that as a major. And you can focus on that as well as the other areas of things that she likes to do. Like she's a really great volleyball player. Two of our cousins had got volleyball scholarships to college from this school. So I'm like, girl, go where the winning team is at, right? So all these things. And as having this conversation with her, she's like, Mom, it's a really great school, but I just really want to be with my friends. And it was interesting because we were going through this conversation. What I was getting her to understand is that your network is your net worth. Yep. And it's not that you can't have these friends because you're not going to the same high school. Because y'all are in high school, y'all have more freedom. High school is right the time you start to get a license and somebody's going to get a car, and then y'all are in the same neighborhood. Y'all live in the same neighborhood. So it's like y'all can still see each other after school. And then I just found out recently, which is interesting because I thought my sister went to this other high school, but she went to the high school that I want my daughter to go to. They actually have exchange programs where you could take classes at other high schools. And because the school her friends are going to has Japanese, I'm like, well, the school I want you to go to doesn't have it, but you can go still see your friends at this school because they'll allow you to take a class, your whatever foreign language there. So this whole conversation of when you're shifting, right? It doesn't feel good. It doesn't go the way you think should happen. However, it is still going to expand you in your network. It's still going to help you expand your perspective on life. And that was what I want my daughter to understand. Like right now, 13, 8th grade, everything right now is about friends. I totally get that. Like I was in middle school once. I know, I totally understand. At the same time, understanding as the universe for her right now, the pieces I have to put together to get her to her desired goal is going to not always look the way she may want it, but she's still going to get the best from it. So as we're having this conversation, it's showing me in real time how that shows up for me and how I'm doing that and showing that up for my children and for what things that they desire, ask for, want. Like I have my 7-year-old. She told me next birthday she wants a pink limo, and that's what she can get.
Hey, I love it. I love that. But you bring up a really good point. And I want to kind of go into the shedding of certain things, right? So we know that we have to let certain things go in order to allow some new things come in, right? And so there's that shedding piece that happens. And with your daughter, she's recognizing that, okay, if I want the best for my highest good, I have to let some things go. However, there is a way for you to still stay connected and integrated into your network, right? So let's talk about that a little bit. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's an important factor because the thing that doesn't get talked about the most times, and I'm seeing manifestation talk on the internet, is they don't talk about the part of really what it means to letting something go. Like I know they say full moon, that's the letting go season, but not really. It's not really the full moon when you let things go. Full moon is just when things come into realization, culmination.
Right. They're illuminated.
That part, you're illuminated to like, okay, I see this is working and I see that this is not working. It's the waning process of the moon is when we start to like, okay, now it's time to remove some things. And one of the biggest things for myself in this recent full moon of 29-day manifestation I've been working on is the releasing of behavior patterns that do not align with the newness I'm bringing in. So that means, okay, again, kind of with my daughter, it's not that I can't be with certain friends, my time has to change because I'm now self-managing myself in a business. And I'm so fortunate because I found myself a really good business coach. And what we did, we really went through process of my time, how my time will be spent, where will I be spending time with leads, where I will be spending time doing appointments, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and just really mapping out the hours in the week and knowing there's 168 hours in the week. We all get the same hours of the day, hours of the week is what we're going to do with it. And so it made me realize how much time I was wasting just on behavior things. Something simple as, scrolling your phone. Like, yeah, you're doing market research, but then you start getting a little too much on your TikTok or your Instagram or wherever you're at, right? So that right there, I had to shed that behavior. I like to talk with all my girlfriends, and we be having our key moments, right? But I can't be doing this all hours of the day. Sis, this is my time. I need to be going and doing some phone calls. I need to be doing some reaching out. I need to be doing et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So it just really gave me a better perspective of what I need to do with my time and look at my behaviors of how I was utilizing time up until that point. And so now in this process of expanding my network by calling people, reaching out to others, being referred to other people, as well as now managing how to still keep my current relationships going despite the changes that I'm making in my day-to-day hour, really looking at my life at the hour. And when they say time is money, honey, that is so, especially when you become an entrepreneur, your time is your money.
Absolutely. And I'm so glad that you brought up shedding behaviors because we don't even talk about those. You know what I'm saying? We talk about, oh, I'm going to let this person go. I'm letting whoever is no longer serving me, right? But
you could be
we also have to be willing to say, okay, you know what? I'm not serving you. And I have to be the one to make that decision. And that's where emotional intelligence and spiritual maturity comes in too. So you're like, hey, I recognize that I'm being a stumbling block for you, or I'm a distraction for you. So I'm going to step back. And it's not always a bad thing. And I think that too, we have to recognize that it's not always who's serving me or who I'm serving. It could be just purely the timing. It's not right.
Yes.
And that doesn't make you a bad person. That doesn't make me a bad person. It's just right now, there's not an alignment for either of us to maintain our highest good.
Ooh.
And so let's take a break. I was talking to you about a venture that I'm a part of with a couple of business partners, and we're not doing anything with the business. So it's like, it's time to dissolve this because we're going to spend more money keeping up with the business license and taxes and all these different things. And it's not going to return an investment on our investment. So let's just dissolve it, and we can figure out a way to still work together on specific projects because I honor your values, your skill set, you honor mine, respect mine, so we can figure out a way to continue to work together. And then in the future, if we decide, things are rolling pretty good, we should form another business, then at that time we can do so. But I love that you brought up the fact that like those behaviors, girl, social media is the bane of my existence right now.
Okay, girl. Mine too. And it's so interesting because I have to really narrow down, okay, if I'm gonna do this for business, I have to put a timer on myself. And that's another layer of giving yourself restrictions and looking at restrictions or looking at discipline or limitations as a blessing. Because too many times I feel like the words limits and all those things that constraints can be negative, very negative, when in actuality, if you're changing your perspective on it, changing your perception on it, I can see how blocking out time and being very adamant about the time that I'm utilizing being a benefit versus being a detriment. And there's a really great book that I've been reading by the author Ryan Holiday, who says discipline to destiny, or the way to destiny is through discipline. And I
Mm.
really love his stoic method approach of looking at discipline being the key factor that aligns you to the destiny. And that is another layer, is like not being afraid of the word discipline.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, my partner and I are reading Deep Work.
That's a good one too.
Yeah, Deep Work. Cal Newport. Is that his name?
I think it's Cal Newport. Yes.
Yeah. So I I girl, that thing is highlighted and I got little tabs, and
Yeah.
it's crazy because where I envision myself, especially as an entrepreneur, is like I don't want work to suck up all my time.
Mhm.
So with setting the timer, it's like we got more work done in 50 minutes than we would have done in 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like, how can I manage my time so well that I'm putting in 4 to 5 hours of work a day? And that leaves me with all this time that I could be networking over dinners,
Right.
going to mixers, to meet new potential clients, you know, working with my client, like having drinks or coffee with current clients. Um, Keeping that doorway open so that people know that I am available, but also making sure that I set the boundaries too. So if I have time set aside for family, that's family time. Like the
Yes.
business phone is turned off. I'm focusing on my family. This is what it is, and honoring that, honoring myself in that.
You know, that was something I had to do with myself when it came to time, is stop telling myself I had to shed, I don't have time for XYZ.
Mhm.
Because when I started to really look at time and really start to map out my days, I
Mhm.
realized I had a lot more time left over, or spare time, if you want to call it, or just time that was unaccounted for, that I could do things with. And so my perception went from, well, it's not that I don't have time, it's now that I have the perception I make the time. And even comes down to, because meditation is not something that I could say is one of my strongest things of doing. Like,
Mhm.
my mind goes all over the place. Or when I say this, when I say meditation, like that, the whole meditation of the sitting still, calming
Mhm.
the mind thing, right? I would do maybe 5, on a good day, 10 minutes, but 5 minutes is what you got out of me, sometimes 3. And what I came to, I said, I want to get into a longer meditational state, right? I want to get into a deeper meditational state. And I started to realize I actually have so much time to do that. And just now, that, again, that changing that perception, shedding that idea that time is against me, or thinking there's more time behind me than ahead of me, has really
Right.
put me into the progression of realizing that there is infinite amounts of time for me if I choose to use it, and if I choose to be a disciple. So I went from the word discipline to disciple, and
Oh,
that,
I like that. Hold on,
well,
I'm gonna have to write that down. Let me write
and
that down.
from discipline to disciple. And the reason why that stuck
Yes.
out to me so much is that when I think about the 12 disciples, or the disciples in Jesus and during his time of his ministry, right? On the story of his ministry, that's what something I said, I want to be a disciple to my goal, to the prize that I'm reaching and striving for, because now it takes away that angst of like, oh, I'm getting up at this time in the morning to do this, or when
Right.
it's now that it's a pleasure to do so. It's a joy to do so, because now I'm finding the success in it versus the perceived limitation in it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. I love that. So after the shedding, after the all of the organizing,
Hmm.
you're pretty much just organizing and placing things where they go. And if I think of it in terms of when you're cleaning your house or cleaning out your closet, you have your pile of clothes that you're going to donate. Things that are worn and torn, you're just going to throw those away. Things that you might want to sell because there's value in it, right? So you've organized and categorized those things. Now, once you've moved those things out, you've made room for the new. And this calls in the renaissance or the rebirth, right? Like you have that period of clarity where you can say, okay, I'm really starting this thing and it's going to be good. And so what do you feel happens in that renaissance period?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. As you were saying, like, because we liken that to the waning of the moon, and everything that you were saying was made me think about nesting. Like when you're pregnant and you get to the phase of nesting, like, okay, we're preparing for this new baby, so let me clean things, and we move things around, we get the nursery together, et cetera, et cetera. That
Mhm.
excitement, you start to feel the excitement of this new birth coming, and this new awareness, this new way of being, this new way of doing. So when it arrives, it's more so just it's a relief, okay? Because it's a lot of work to get to birth. Like I
Yeah.
know the Hollywood makes it seem like it's a few grunts and then you're there, but no, girl,
Honey, listen, this last one put the nail in the we're
she's like, you're
closed.
good, okay, yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like the process from gestation to the full pregnancy to now labor, delivery, and now, I'm here. I
Right.
got you. I say take a nap. That's what you do when you get about
Rest.
take a nap. And honestly, that's so true because they say that to all of us after you have a baby. Say make sure you sleep when the baby sleeps or whatever, whatever. So with the rebirth time, I think that's the time of rest. That is the time when you're now able to not. It's not so much like a physical sleep rest, but you get to rest in the knowing that you are now in the new process. And there's no such thing as anything old, right? There's no such thing as anything that once was. It is completely about this new life that we brought in, or this new whatever the newness is that we have called in. It's all about
Mhm.
that. And we're now become like the doting parent to the new idea or the business or whatever it is that we have manifested with the gestation period. And that's to me is where you really find the joy of excitement of knowing your work has
Mhm.
been manifested.
Mhm. Oh, I love that. I love that. It also puts me in the mind of, we talked about the Beyonce and her tour and, getting ready to go see the movie. And so it's like we don't get to see when people were going to the concert, you experience the fullness, right?
Yeah.
But the movie is going to give us that introspective viewpoint of what it actually takes to get to that level. And she did that also with I think it was called Life is But a Dream.
Yeah, and that
Her
one and
other
Homecoming too. She did something like that too, followed behind the Coachella performance too. So yeah. So what
yeah.
I say about the good sis Beyonce, she is definitely a character to really lean into when it comes to
Mhm.
work ethic. I feel like that's something that I think everybody says about her across the board. This woman really puts in the work to put
Mhm.
together not just these productions, but her artistry. And so, in tying into that, I'm looking forward to seeing what she has to say about her this renaissance and this era for her and what that could mean for us in the collective consciousness of what that means for a renaissance in our own lives. So I'm looking
Mhm.
forward to it, girl.
Yes, yes. And that brings us to that last piece of the puzzle. Going from recognizing the shift to shedding the things that you are not in alignment with any longer, then experiencing that rebirth, that rising of the phoenix, basically. And then we get to aligning with those manifestations. So I seen a meme a few days ago, and it is circulated several times now, where it says, "You're in what you prayed for 3 years ago or last year." And so that reminds us that manifesting takes time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we become master manifestors, and manifestations could happen almost instantaneously, right? But then there's those that, if you're asking to go higher, the process that it takes to get to that higher level is where you have the time to align with the many manifestations that builds the blocks to the big overall picture, right?
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about what aligning with our manifestations will look like and how we can maintain it for the long haul and avoid future shedding, future rebirths. Like, I understand that there's life is cyclical, right?
Yeah.
But I think that there could be a mode or some type of fail safe process that would avoid specific events from happening and being catastrophic. So how do we align with our manifestations and maintain them over time?
Yeah. Well, that's an important word, is the honoring of time, because now this goes into the conversation that we had some time ago about seed time and harvest,
Mm,
recognizing our seasons that we're in, because there's been times, and I've done this, I'm in a season of harvesting and I'm trying to plant new seeds when I need to be harvesting the fruits that has already come in the previous manifestations, right?
mhm,
So that goes into the recognition of what season am I in. Am
right,
I in the season of being nurtured and poured into? Or am I in the season of pouring and nurturing to others? Am I in the season of is this like a quiet, dark season where I need to be by myself? Am I in the season of being out and about? So it's about recognizing what season that we are in, because that lines us up with the right time with our manifestation. So when we're now have the manifestation, it now puts into the what is the actions and behaviors of sustaining it, because the scripture goes, you can't put new wine in old wineskin, right? So we wouldn't want to be doing behaviors that were previous, or connections and things that we're doing that were previous, that we did prior to the manifestation that we have. We have to now sustain that. And that comes with, again, changing whatever needs to change, always being in a state of evolution. And so I believe that is how, with that particular manifestation, is how we can minimize hiccups within that, because it's like, I'm not going to repeat what didn't work. I'm not
right,
going to repeat the things that I did when I was taking out during that waning process. I'm
right.
just continue to do the things that I recognized through my illumination process on what is working, and grow
Mhm.
from there. And I also don't think there'll never be a time where you won't have tower moments. I just think those towers won't be as intense as the previous ones, because we've gotten to a stride where, okay, I've gotten to a place where I'm hand over fist. So this tower, whatever that tower may be, won't take me out. It might just give me some type of resilience and teach me another lesson, another avenue, another way of doing something. So I think, again,
Yeah.
it goes back to perspective of, well, where am I at and what am I doing in my time?
Yeah, no, I love how you put that. I love how you put that because excuse me. I think that we have this propensity to look at things like, "Oh, I'm going to turn this anthill into a mountain," right? And sometimes it's like, "No, if you just make one little adjustment, it's okay." Right? Um and I just look at my situations that has happened in the last couple of years where, you know, I experience a lot of loss. I've experienced a rock bottom moment. And I know it's cliche to say this, but I know things could be absolutely worse, you know. And so I'm grateful that it hasn't gone to an area where I would probably not return from. And that gives me hope, that silver lining of, you know what, I know that all these things have happened to teach me a significant lesson that's going to propel me into that next season. And I know that, okay, if I see something similar, I know exactly how to manage it and pivot to where I'm going to avoid something as catastrophic as what I've experienced. So I'm grateful for the lessons and the losses, because those losses have turned into significant lessons for me.
Exactly. And, I think even in business, they say we have to sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times your failures is really where you learn success. And
Hmm.
that to me, again, it's about changing my perspective. It's like, there's some things you just don't want to do. Like there's some avoidable failures you can avoid, but there's
Hmm.
others that are just going to take place for you to learn how to continue and persevere and go forward. I think Dr. Seuss, before, I think they said he had like 90 no's on his books before he got that one yes. And
Hmm.
it's like, are you so persistent in believing in what you have called to do and brought in and move forward, that
Hmm.
despite if others support it or not, despite whatever that may look like, are you still going to pursue and continue? And that's another part of the manifestation process, is that they're not always going to be people who may always put life into their manifestation. However, if
Hmm.
you find one or two who are willing to speak or do or whatever that's going to see it take place, that's all you really need. Like
Yeah.
a cell just needs what to say, an egg cell just needs one sperm cell to really
Hmm.
be a whole entire new person. So with that, all you might need is just that one illuminating factor that can,
Hmm.
and that goes into, again, understanding your season of time.
Yes, I love that. I love that. So, in closing, what would be one word or phrase that you would use to encourage someone to step into their power and recognize that shift and what to do with that shift?
I'm going to go back to what I said about discipline, looking at discipline as discipleship. That is going to, for me at least, has been something that's really truly helped me on transitioning and transforming my life, is
Hmm.
taking the word discipline and you seeing it as discipleship. So now it doesn't have a sting to it. It has more of a relief of, okay, I'm doing this because I'm a disciple to seeing this manifestation through.
I love that. And I would say, um, I'm asking my own question. I love that. What would I say? Hmm. I would say keep the faith. Keep the faith, because without faith, you're not going to be able to even see or experience those manifestations.
Yes.
Faith is the substance of things not seen, the things that we hope for.
That part. And that go, oh my God, this is so perfect little story. My 7-year-old, she is part of a garden club at her school. And so they,
I love it.
my little Taurus, which is, she's an Earth baby, actually born on Earth Day, but it's so cute because when she brought her, little cup, little paper cup they have with their little dirt and their seeds in it, and every day she was always looking at it like, "Mommy, is it going to grow? Is it going to grow?" I'm like, "Yes, it's going to grow." But I said, "What you're going to have to do? You're going to have to stop hovering over it and allow it to grow." And that goes into faith. And eventually, she kind of, led up a little bit, and she'll check on it every now and then, but then she started to see that little sprouting come through. And to me, I
Mhm.
feel like that's what faith representation right there is, that you planted a seed. So you have faith that that seed's going to come and sprout for you. And it's
Yes.
so true, as you've got to have faith. And faith comes from the actions of what you did prior to. So
Mhm.
it's like, when we do push-ups, you're not going to do 100 push-ups a day and be like, I hope I get these muscles or whatever. But if
Right.
you're doing these 100 pushes a day, you're going to get those push-ups or that physique toning. So faith is the key. Keep that thing going.
Yes. And discipline is discipleship now. You have alchemized. That's pure alchemizing. Yes,
Yeah,
I love that. Practical alchemy.
I'm telling you, it's about that heart, mind, body connection, heart, mind,
Yes.
body, soul. So, yes.
Yes. Well, thank you. And we will see everyone next time.
Yes. Well, happy holiday season. Until next time, much love.
Yes. Happy holiday season to you too.
Yay.